Have you ever suddenly realized your sibling has been casually feeding you something absolutely disgusting? And somehow it's happened more than once? Because apparently my daughter Ellie had the worst luck imaginable when it came to food in our house. The first incident happened around Christmas when my youngest son Noah was about 5 years old. We were all sat in the living room watching a film together. Me, Ellie, Noah, and my eldest son Luke. Ellie had this big bowl of salted peanuts balanced on her lap and was happily munching away while we watched the movie. Completely out of nowhere, Noah casually says, "You know, I like the taste of peanuts, but I don't actually like eating the nut." We all just looked at him in confusion. Then, completely straight-faced, he says, "So I just suck the salt off and put them back in the bowl." Silence. Absolute silence. Ellie slowly stopped chewing. You could literally see the moment her brain started connecting the dots. I burst out laughing while Ellie stared at the bowl in horror and said, "I wondered why some of them felt wet." I was crying laughing at this point while Noah sat there looking incredibly proud of himself, like he'd just shared a life hack with the family. I asked him, "Wait, you put them back in this bowl?" And so matter-of-factly, he just nodded and said, "Yeah." That story became one of those family memories we still laugh about years later, but somehow it gets worse. A little while after the great peanut incident, Ellie was sat on her bed eating cherry tomatoes from one of those little plastic punnets. At the time, our dog Oreo was still a puppy. Ellie thought it would be cute to let him try one of the tomatoes. Apparently, Oreo picked it up in his mouth, then spat it back out again. Several times. But Ellie assumed he'd eventually eaten it. Later on, I walked into her room and spotted a tomato sitting on the bed beside the punnet. I just assumed one had rolled out, so I picked it up and casually dropped it back in with the others. A few hours later, Ellie suddenly says, "Oh, Oreo did eat that tomato after all." I frowned and asked what she meant. She said, "Well, there was one left on the bed earlier, but now it's gone." And suddenly, my soul left my body. I slowly turned toward her and said, "Ellie, I put that tomato back in the punnet." The look on her face was instant horror. Then she quietly said, "That makes sense." I asked, "What do you mean that makes sense?" And with complete devastation in her voice, she said, "I thought one of them seemed wetter than the others." I genuinely could not breathe from laughing. The poor girl had accidentally eaten another saliva-covered food item without realizing it. And somehow, the worst part is that Oreo apparently kept repeatedly mouthing the tomato and rejecting it before I unknowingly returned it to the food supply. To this day, anytime Ellie says something tastes a bit strange, the entire family starts laughing. Honestly, I'm surprised she trusts food in our house at all anymore. Have you ever had a completely chaotic family moment that still gets brought up years later? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Scripted Chaos for more awkward and hilarious stories.